Welcome back to Busted Open. Mortman and LaGreca, you hear him. It's the advocate, the man behind the one in 21 in one. The one and only, the great Paul Heyman. Paul, thanks for coming back on the show.
You're welcome.
So
that was a funny answer?
No,
that was perfect.
Let's wrap
the best answer to have.
I mean, thank you. You're welcome. Gracias de nada, right?
No, I was laughing
so
because
I say you're welcome, and he goes, like I told a funny around here. Hey, you really are a funny guy.
It's all about delivery. It's all about the delivery.
Well, let's wrap the interview up.
Wrap
quick.
it up.
Let's wrap it up.
It was
quick.
nice to see you.
Okay,
thank you for coming by. My pleasure. What a funny guy.
You gave us The Undertaker. You said Brock was going to beat him. You gave us John Cena. You said Brock was going to destroy him. So you want to wrap the interview up? Let's do it right now.
Sure. What do you want to know?
What's going to happen on Sunday?
Brock Lesnar is going to lay a prison beating down on Roman Reigns, the likes of which family entertainment, sports entertainment, has never seen before nor ever will again, because I guarantee you they will impose limitations on the physicality that a professional wrestler can do in the main event of WrestleMania once Brock Lesnar bitch slaps Roman Reigns into oblivion, to the point where the referee is going to be tempted to step in but realize it's not best for business to stop the match. And then, and only then, Brock Lesnar will put Roman Reigns out of his misery in the main event of WrestleMania and remain the reigning, defending, undisputed WWE heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, that's our ending to WrestleMania. Paul, thanks for... No.
You know what? I think there's a big portion of the audience on Sunday that's probably going to want to see exactly that.
Well, that's what I'm counting on. I don't think people are paying to see a 45-minute classic. I don't think they're looking for this generation's version of Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage. I think people want Mike Tyson. I think people want Ronda Rousey. And I think people want Brock Lesnar. And that's exactly what they're going to get this Sunday.
You mentioned Rousey. The MMA career for Mr. Lesnar is done. As we saw on ESPN on Tuesday, he retired. No more. Re-signed with WWE. What did you know? When did you know it? How much of a surprise, if it was a surprise to you? And how excited are you that he's back with WWE for 3 years?
Well, he didn't leave, so it's not like he's back. It was a contract negotiation that went down to the wire. And why wouldn't a contract negotiation go down to the wire? It didn't benefit either side to cave in early. You take it as far as you possibly can. You get the most out of the other side that you possibly can. WWE wanted to exploit Brock Lesnar's talents, abilities, and likeness as much as they possibly could. So when Brock Lesnar comes out and says, I want 16 green M&Ms and I want 14 purple bananas, why wouldn't WWE say, well, for the 14 purple bananas, we want an extra date on you. We want a media appearance. We want to be able to exploit your likeness on this many T-shirts or this many posters or this type of plaque or this type of collector's item. And why wouldn't Brock Lesnar say, well, for that, I want 19 purple bananas and I want 22 green M&Ms. Of course, each side is going to go down to the wire because we had the luxury of time. Then Monday, we're at WrestleMania week, and it's time for everybody to make a decision. And Vince McMahon got with Brock Lesnar and said, all right, what's it going to take? And Brock says this, and Vince says that. And at the end of the day, they both realize, wow, we are best for each other. And when their meeting was over early that morning, I got buzzed by Brock. We're in.
Wow. Any concern prior that Brock would not re-sign with WWE?
I don't know if it's concerned that Brock wouldn't re-sign. If Brock didn't re-sign,
I'm just talking about your emotions. Forget about everything else. You as the advocate, you as the mouthpiece.
I've had a run with Brock that's second to none. So if it would end this Sunday at WrestleMania, then it's been one hell of a year that I can really live very comfortably with. If Brock is going to go somewhere else and ply his trade, I was very fully prepared for that and for the opportunities that would present. I'm never really concerned about those type of things because I really don't see Brock Lesnar just falling into the middle anywhere that he goes. It's not like if Brock had decided to leave WWE, he was going to be, wow, okay. Well, we got to go to UFC and pay your dues and work your way up to the top. He was coming in as a top attraction. The number one attraction on pay-per-view. It's like the joke I said about Brock showing up in Vegas and slapping around Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. If Brock decided to put on a pair of boxing gloves, do you really think they were going to have to feed him 15 tomato cans before he gets to a title match? No, he'd be in a title match his first fight. So he's always going to be the top guy. And the day that he's not guaranteed to be the top guy, he won't be around. You'll never see him again.
What Brock was able to do when he made his announcement on ESPN is connect with the fans. I mean, we saw a Brock Lesnar that we probably have never seen before. And Roman Reigns has had a difficult time doing it. Actually, I think probably you have done a better job selling Roman Reigns to the WWE Universe than Roman Reigns himself. Brock was able to make that connection. Did you see that too with his announcement on ESPN, that he kind of showed a side of himself that we haven't seen as fans?
Well, anybody who's a member of the WWE Universe is going to sit there and say, wow, he stayed with our team. So, of course, they're going to be happy. Of course, he's going to make that connection. It's a very easy connection for Brock to make. I'm not leaving. I'm staying here. And everything I've done in the past year has been worthy of your interest, worthy of your subscription, worthy of your dollar. So I'm staying. Oh, great. We get more of this guy.
But I'm having fun. I was born to be an entertainer. I haven't heard that from Brock Lesnar.
Well, then you haven't been listening. I said it on Monday night. Everybody paints Brock Lesnar as a cyborg, a mercenary who's only in it for the money. Brock Lesnar is an intensely passionate competitor who loves being WWE champion. I put it out there on Monday. I was very honest about it. It's out there. If you listen to the words that I say and you pay attention to them, you'll see that it's not a conflicting message.
You do say a lot of words, and for that's why we love Paul Heyman. When we sat down with Jim Ross...
I love Paul Heyman too, by the way.
Okay, as you should. We have a 3-hour show coming up with WWE Hall of Famer Jim Ross.
That's not a surprise
tomorrow.
to me, by the way.
No?
No. Jim Ross talking for 3 hours?
Oh,
No, it's not a surprise at all.
Listen, it's epic stuff. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm sure it is. He misses those 3-hour broadcasts.
I bet.
He's primed and ready for them.
He said 2 things, which I thought were interesting.
And it took him 3 hours to say it?
He absolutely did not, Paul. Jeez. He said, his best WrestleMania call was with you. Said that was a home run, which I think was interesting. But the other thing he said about you, and I totally agree with him, is that you should be getting main event pay. You have made the main event. And the glowing praise from him was echoed by my broadcast partner, Dave LaGreca, and myself. And I'm just interested because, you're not a modest man, but you're very introspective. Your thoughts on how you've been able to carve out this tale in a situation where you're really the only one speaking between these two warriors?
I think you play to everybody's strengths and you hide everybody's weaknesses. And even if it's not a weakness and someone else is stronger in one regard, why wouldn't you play to that? There's nothing that Brock Lesnar can say about himself that's going to be better than what I say about him, because if he says it, it's bragging. I am the only person to be the NCAA Division I heavyweight champion, UFC heavyweight champion, WWE heavyweight champion. I'm 6'3", 295 pounds. I accomplished this. Oh, look at this guy. Oh, he's so full of himself. I say it because I'm his advocate. And I'm his advocate. See, that's why I'm very specific in what I say. I don't want to be a manager. That role's over with. I am an advocate because I do advocate for Brock Lesnar. Because everything that I say about Brock Lesnar, I truly believe. I can promise you, I believe he's a beast. I've seen him in the gym. I've seen him train. I've seen him in the octagon. I saw him on the college mats. He's a beast. He's a conqueror. He truly is a conqueror. Brock Lesnar conquers all that he surveys. What challenge has been put in front of Brock Lesnar that he didn't accomplish? A piss-poor dairy farm boy from Webster, South Dakota becomes the NCAA Division I heavyweight champion? This guy becomes the youngest WWE champion who never watched wrestling as a kid because he couldn't afford a television. Wow. And then he goes to mixed martial arts where he's, it's the fake wrestler. It's the entertainer. It's all fake. Gonna get your ass kicked here, kid. And he doesn't just beat any MMA guy. He beats the greatest heavyweight in the history of UFC or any other mixed martial arts organization. He beats Randy frickin' Couture. And not on a fluke either. He convincingly beats Randy Couture. He's a conqueror. Why would you have this man talk for himself? How could he possibly convey these things to you without you sitting there saying, yeah, but he's embellishing. I'm not embellishing. And you know I'm not embellishing because I'm an advocate. As far as Roman Reigns is concerned, there is, admittedly, a resistance to Roman Reigns becoming a main eventer this fast. But The Rock faced the very same thing. Die, Rocky, die chants. People turning their back publicly, turning their back to the ring, turning away from the product when Rocky was out there because they wanted to demonstrate their contempt for how quickly Dwayne Johnson was being fed to them. And he could convey his own message to the point where the people got wrapped up in him and finally accepted him. Roman Reigns has not had that chance yet because it's not the time frame yet for him. He has not had the die Roman die chance as long as Dwayne Johnson felt the die Rocky die chance. Give him a little bit of time. But in the meantime, I'm out there. And I do like Roman Reigns. And I do admire him. And I think he's phenomenally talented and a WrestleMania main eventer for many, many, many years to come. Why wouldn't you have me talk about him? Why wouldn't you have me sell that to the public? Why wouldn't you have me advocate for him? Does it have to be that because he's on the other side of the main event, I have to hate him?
No.
I have to talk trash about him? I have to, you ain't ready, kid, you suck. Why? He is ready, and he doesn't suck. He's phenomenal. People just haven't caught on to that fact yet because there is always going to be resistance when you shove somebody down their throats. And admittedly, when you get that level of a promotional push, you're being shoved down people's throats.
And I think that's what the problem was. I think if Daniel Bryan, especially after what happened last year, was in that position, I think it would be a different story.
Daniel Bryan, a few WrestleManias ago, was against Sheamus. Now, after the match, people were so pissed off that they got a 7 or 10 or 11. How many seconds was it?
17.
17-second match, of which 3 seconds of it he was kissing AJ. Not a bad gig if you can get it. So he kisses AJ, turns around, he gets a boot in the face, boom, and he's beaten for the title. Now, afterwards, people were so pissed off, they said, we're angry. We got ripped off. We wanted more Daniel Bryan. But going into that WrestleMania, did anybody complain about Daniel Bryan's spot on the card? Did anybody sit there and say, this WrestleMania sucks? You know why? Daniel Bryan's only in that spot, in that match. Nobody complained going in. Why? Because at that time, they were accepting of the level of promotion that was behind Daniel Bryan. And once they didn't get to see his match, the audience amped it up because they said, hey, we want more of this guy. And that's where the real push for Daniel Bryan began. Same thing will happen for Roman Reigns. It just takes time.
If Brock Lesnar did go to MMA and left WWE, what would Paul Heyman be doing? And then I follow up with that and saying, any more Heyman guys in the future?
Well, I think NXT is a factory of Paul Heyman guys and Paul Heyman girls. I mean, there's
anyone in particular?
The whole roster. Strength in numbers. Give me the whole roster. I'm ready for them all. I mean, certainly at least one of them is going to main event WrestleMania. And I don't know if that's going to be Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Balor, or Charlotte, or Sasha Banks. Because you can't rule them out.
Nope.
Ronda Rousey's main eventing UFC pay-per-views. And 2 years ago, Dana White didn't even want women in UFC. So I don't put anything as a can't happen. What would I have done? I certainly would not have ended my affiliation with Brock Lesnar. Whether that's a conflict of interest or not would be something we'd have to address at the time. But I'm certainly not going to turn my back on him just because he decided to have gone to UFC. I mean, it makes my life a lot easier that he stayed.
Sure.
And I'm happy that he stayed. But I was prepared for him not to.
Brock as a dominant champion, you mentioned the roster of NXT. future's very bright for the WWE, you would think.
Talent-wise, absolutely.
Creatively?
I don't know. I mean, creatively, one would hope. But, creative can change on a moment's basis. Creative changes in terms of what the culture accepts and what the culture doesn't accept. The culture would never have accepted lighter fighters being the top draw. Was there always a Sugar Ray Leonard, a Sugar Ray Robinson, a Jake LaMotta? Sure, back in the day, but the heavyweight champion was the man. The one, the end-all, be-all, the only real title that mattered. Jack Dempsey and Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier and George Foreman and Mike Tyson. These were the great draws of boxing. And even though they were lighter fighters, they were never the top attraction in boxing. Now the culture has changed. So if you're a Klitschko, or if you're promoting Klitschko, you sit there and say, whoa, what's the creative here? How do we promote this fight? Then there's nothing that you can do that will match what Mayweather and Pacquiao can bring to the table. It wasn't that way 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago. The culture of boxing changed. The culture of sports entertainment, as it is now, is geared towards subscriptions to the network. That's the business model. We have the talent to fill the need. Just look at NXT. You have a roster filled. If the entire WWE roster walked out en masse right now, we'd still have a great WrestleMania this Sunday. Will people be pissed? Sure. They were emotionally invested in Brock versus Roman Reigns, Sting versus Triple H, The Undertaker's return after a year against Bray Wyatt, and all the other matches involved. But the show that the NXT kids could put on certainly wouldn't suck. And people would be resistant to it because they're emotionally invested in the other storylines. But when the show was over, they'd say, all right, a year from now, next WrestleMania, it's going to really rock because these are the guys that are going to perform again. Their audition this year, met with resistance, would win the audience over for next year. So, talent-wise, very healthy. Creative-wise, I don't know where the culture goes. And wherever the culture goes, if we match what the demand is from the audience, then creative is great. And if we don't, it needs to be adjusted.
On the business side of things, we spoke to you a couple of times before the Cena match, and we asked you about the championship and Brock not necessarily defending at every pay-per-view, and that's exactly what happened. So I'm interested now, as the postmortem, to Brock winning the championship. We saw him SummerSlam, Night of Champions, he's away, and the next pay-per-view is 4 months down the road that he defended it at the Royal Rumble. How do you think it worked out for the business of WWE not having that championship on TV and around in the mix?
Wonderfully. It made the title more exclusive. It made it something you had to pay to see.
Still that special attraction, but you don't think they could do better business if the championship was around more often?
No. I'll give you the same analogy I gave on television. And this is a Jew boy talking over here, okay? There's no holier night, no more special night, no more family-oriented night, no more wonderful, loving, blissful night than Christmas Eve. Everybody gets around the tree. Kids get their presents. I love you, Grandma, Grandpa. Oh, we love you too, little Joey. Yeah, right? And parents love their children, and children love their parents, and siblings love each other. And it's just a wonderful night. And Jews, we get to eat a lot of Chinese food.
Go to a movie, right? Do you go to a movie?
It's the best night of the year. It's wonderful. Why not do it 365 nights a year then? Because it wouldn't be a special. Because it would become common ground or commonplace. It would lose its authenticity of being something extraordinary, something different, something you have to look forward to, something that gives you an anticipatory desire to get to. Same thing. If Brock Lesnar was on TV 52 weeks a year, Brock Lesnar was around all the time, you could miss it. Oh, I missed this week. I'll catch up with it next week. You want a reason to buy the WWE Network? You want a reason to buy a ticket? You want a reason to buy a pay-per-view? Brock Lesnar's on this show. I better get it. Why? Why do you have to get it? It's Brock Lesnar because he doesn't do it that often. Because when he does it, it's special. It's unique. It's extraordinary. It's rare. It's worth it. And that's what makes Brock Lesnar different. He's worth it. There's only going to be so many more times in this lifetime you're going to get to see Brock Lesnar do his thing in the ring. My suggestion is, when you have the opportunity to see Brock Lesnar, grab it. Take advantage of it. Exploit that opportunity. Because once it's gone forever. And while it's here, it ain't that often.
And you have must-see TV, The Glue, Paul Heyman on TV.
The Glue.
Reminding you that you're going to get Brock.
Interesting that The Undertaker hasn't addressed what happened last year. We'll see if and when that happens at all. Wondering if you guys are going to be looking over your shoulders with Seth Rollins and a Money in the Bank briefcase. You never know when he's going to pop up this.
Why isn't Seth Rollins looking over his shoulder? How does he know he won't make a preemptive attack? I mean, I've always been a great believer in being proactive rather than reactive. Why is everybody looking for Seth Rollins to make his move on Brock Lesnar? Why isn't Seth Rollins walking around being paranoid, which would be a righteous state of mind considering what he has in that briefcase? And why wouldn't we sit there and say, why don't we just take him out now, not even worry about him?
As I was about to say, so many more stories to be told by the great storyteller himself, the one and only Paul Heyman. Before we let you go, real quick, what do you think the crowd reaction alone for Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania will be Sunday night?
Once he puts his hands on Roman Reigns, I think the people are going to gasp at the physicality that they're going to see.
Enough said.
Love it.
Paul?
By the way,
Yes.
I agree with JR. I should get main event pay.
We definitely agree with
And
that.
I know he's not kidding either.
No, I'm not kidding. And neither was JR. I should get main event pay.
You deserve it.
I do deserve it.
I'm not arguing with
You shouldn't be. Why would you want to argue with me? I'm telling the truth, and you know that I'm right.
You usually win, too.
But even if I don't always win, I'm right on this one.
I think you are.
And JR was right as well, despite the fact that he's from Oklahoma.
The one and only Paul Heyman.
Thank you.